Gonzalo Lira, like Julian Assange, actually, is fortunate that he still has his father and that his father is made of real metal. The kind of metal that brings a father out into the public eye, campaigning for, demanding assurances on the life of his son. Gonzalo Lira Sr. joins us now. His son is in the dungeons in Ukraine. At least we think that's where he is. Mr. Lira, thank you for joining us. We think he's in the dungeons in Ukraine. Can you tell us where he is, what charges he's facing?
First of all, good evening, George. Under the circumstances, it's still a pleasure being in your show. I've seen you with my son many times. I do agree with your political posture. I don't know about my son. All I know is that he was detained on May the 1st by the SBU, accused of inciting people against the Zelensky regime. Gonzalo has been very, very outspoken insofar as what the real war is going on. And his opinion, George, is something that it is sanctioned by the United Nations. Don't forget that I'm reading the General Assembly in Paris on December 10th, 1948. The Article 10 of Human Rights, freedom of expression. Everyone has a right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. Gonzalo, as an American citizen, exercised his rights of and freedom of speech, and he was violently detained on May 1st while he was sleeping. He was awoken by at least 4 or 5 soldiers pointing guns, heavy rifles, to his body and threw him out of his home and sent him to prison. I received information after at least 2 weeks afterwards from the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv. The official at the U.S. Embassy told me that he had held a video conference with my son. We don't know since that day, which was approximately May 15, whether my son is alive, whether my son has been tortured, and what is the outcome of the accusations that he's facing. All I know is that according to this embassy official, the people in the jail had appointed an attorney to defend my son. That's a kangaroo court. Zelensky is fighting, according to Biden, for the freedom of Ukraine. Well, he's not showing freedom to the rest of the world. You cannot detain an American citizen speaking his voice, speaking his speech, having his ideas that totally against what Zelensky believes, and he has no right to detain my son. This is totally, I have no words to describe as a father. I am not sleeping well, George. I'm having nightmares. I'm having nightmares that my son is being tortured. The stories that I get in Chile, I live in Santiago, Chile, by the way. The stories that I get from Ukraine are bad, are dreadful. They violate human rights. It's a country that doesn't believe in rights of people. They don't believe in human rights. And What I'm living right now as a citizen of the world is something that in this time when we're living in the 21st century, we should not be exposed to this kind of activities in the world. What is going to happen with Biden's help, by the way, and I'm very disappointed with the US government because they haven't done anything. The State Department, some spokesman with the last name Matthew, I believe, he was asked by Liam Grossford or someone about the outcome of Gonzalo. Well, they have no word. The embassy has contacted my son, as I said before, just once, the middle of May. My son has been in jail since May the 1st. It's over a month. We cannot accept this. As a citizen of the world, I cannot accept what is going on with my son. I cannot accept that the US government doesn't do a thing to protect an American citizen. This is outrageous. I don't want to hear any more longer that the US is for freedom, is for human rights. They are not protecting human rights in the world. They are stepping on human rights. And it's about time that Mr. Biden, Mr. Zelensky, open your eyes. I'm a simple old 80-year-old man begging for the future of my son. I beg you, I implore you to release my son. Deport him from Ukraine if you wish. But please, let Veronica, age 10 years old, and Ramon, who's going to be 8 years old next Monday the 12th, to see their father and to leave me in the few years that I have left in peace.
Well, I'm almost speechless at the power and poignancy of that, Mr. Lira, and I'm sure the entire audience is. All I can think of to ask you further is the Chilean government. Of course, he's an American citizen, but he is ethnically Chilean. You are a Chilean. Is the Chilean government of any use in this affair?
George, Gonzalo was born while I attended university in the USA. I arrived into the USA as a resident alien with a green card that was given to me in the American consulate in Santiago on the 17th day of March, 1964. My immigration card was A14-147-451. I was a legal resident studying at UCLA. I lived many years in the USA, married with a Chilean girl. She came to the USA. We were living, and Gonzalo was born in Burbank at the St. Joseph Hospital in Burbank, which is a district of Los Angeles, California, on the 29th of February, 1968. He's an American citizen by birth. He came to Chile when we came back, when he was 8 years old. And as an aside, he was a wetback for a while in Chile, until finally my wife didn't know the paperwork that had to be done. But anyway, he became a Chilean citizen as dual citizen. The Chilean government, with a leftist president, Boric, I'm ashamed of this man. The US embassy that they don't have in Ukraine, they have in Poland, they haven't done a thing, nothing at all. The Chile government has not even spoken about Gonzalo, let alone lifting their hand to help him in any way. So Gonzalo has been left on his own. I don't know where he is, George. I don't know whether he's been tortured. I don't know whether he's alive, George. But we, as human beings, as we call ourselves civilized people, cannot any longer continue with wars that they are devastating a country called Ukraine. They're not going to leave anything left in Ukraine. And the US is pushing them from behind with the NATO forces. This is outrageous, outrageous. And as a citizen of the world, I demand that this should be stopped. How many young people have died because the old ones are sending them to their own death as soldiers? That should be illegal. We shouldn't have this. People are going crazy. I lived 80 years in this world. I've seen many things, but we are becoming worse year after year. We're invading countries. There's no law, George. And it's very unfortunate that my son has been involved in this outrageous regime in Ukraine. I cannot understand this man Zelensky being a father and letting two children, like his own children, without a father, which are my grandsons. This has to be stopped.
Well, Mr. Lira, you may be 80 years old, but I'd sooner you were in the White House with your finger on the button than the 80-year-old who is in the White House. And I'm sure that the whole audience will concur with that. I'm deeply grateful. I promise you the full support of this show. And I'm going to ask now everybody watching, everyone who sees this stream or the clips that will come from it, to use any address that you can get your hands on of any official American organization. Write to your congressperson, your senator, write to your local political representatives, write to the White House, write to the American embassy, wherever you are, and ask them what they're doing to free Gonzalo Lira. These are...
Could you give me 15 seconds?
Yes, of course I will. Go ahead, sir.
George, speaking of the USA, my son Gonzalo is more gringo than Chileno. His mother lives in England, in the States. His sister lives in the USA. He has two uncles, my two older brothers. We are three brothers. We all studied in the USA. My two older brothers are still alive, and they're living in Los Angeles, California. He has six first cousins. One of them, Michael Vernon Lira, has spoken to the governor of Arkansas and the U.S. Senator of Arkansas to help Gonzalo, to call the Department of State in the USA. So we're moving in the USA. My son is an American citizen, and we're doing all we can with our family in the USA. I'm the only one, as a matter of fact, living in Santiago, Chile. I'm very happy to live in this country.
Mr. Lira Sr., Gonzalo Lira Sr., thank you for joining us, and we all will pray for the safety and the early release and the reunification with his family of the journalist and broadcaster Gonzalo Lira. Gonzalo is a man exercising his First Amendment rights as an American citizen. Millions were delighted to hear his point of view. And even if they did not agree with it, cannot possibly agree with a journalist like him being led away at automatic gunpoint and then held effectively incommunicado. Neither can we accept the American authorities doing nothing about it. So whichever country you're in, write to the American ambassador. Ask for news on the safety of Gonzalo Lira. Say that you have always looked forward to his alternative point of view on the war in Ukraine, and how you cannot imagine that the American government, which has so often opined that journalism is not a crime, would sit by doing nothing while an American journalist wastes away in a Ukrainian jail. Please do everything you can to save the life of Gonzalo Lira.